sometimes I read books and I'm just like, who were these people? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my top romances that I think you should be reading for Valentine's Day. And today I got myself all dressed up. I did my hair, I did my nails, and then I'm also wearing, you can't really see it, but it's actually Snoopy. Snoopy holding some heart balloons. And my favorite part about this outfit is, are you ready? Are you ready? I wear a bow. I'm so obsessed with that trend. Like, I love the bows. I mean, I'm obsessed. So I have right here a list of my top romance books that I think you should be reading for Valentine's Day, and how this video is going to work is I'm going to show you the books in no particular order. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I'm going to share with you a quote that hopefully will convince you to read the book. So yeah, let's get into this video. Alright, let's start it off with Better Than the Movies for all my YA girlies out there. This book is YA, it has a bit of fake dating, it has a trope that I love very, very much, and you'll understand what that trope is when I tell you the quote on why you should read this book. But anyway, another thing that this book offers is a little bit more of emotional depth than you get in your typical YA book, because I feel like going into a YA book, you kind of want like a palate cleanser, you want something short, you want something sweet. This book though actually deals with the main character, Liz. Her mom had passed away, and she's kind of going through those, monumental steps in high school that you want your mom to be with you for, and she doesn't have her. So it's very emotional in that way, and I think that it adds so much more to the story, and it makes you really, really fall in love with the characters more. So I really love that about this book. Also, can we talk about Wes? He's amazing, book boyfriend all the way. So the quote that I think will convince you to read this book, and also deals with one of my favorite tropes ever, is, "She's not you." What? She's not you. The next book I have is another Lynn Painter book, and this book gives major rom-com vibes. I obsess. This is The Love Wager, and this book is about two main characters who meet each other at a wedding. They kind of do a little flirting, they do a little, fooling around, but they decide that they aren't meant to be together. But then they find each other again, and they decide, hey, let's be each other's wingmen. And they make a wager, hence the title, that whoever gets a real relationship first gets something. I don't remember the specifics of what they win and things like that, but all I know is that I could have finished this book in one day. I gave it 5 stars. It was one of my favorites from last year, and I had to stop myself because I was like, I need to savor this book. I want to drag it out for 2 days because it's so good. And there's a lot of kicking and giggling. It was great. So the quote that I think will convince you to read this book is, "I want to spend forever with my favorite human, the person who cracks me up and gets me and likes the way I think. Romance is nice, but I want to be with the one person where if something happens to me, funny, awful, wonderful, I'm dying to tell them." I've always wanted that. Lynn Painter gets me, okay? She gets me. The book I have is One Last Stop by Casey McQuesson, and this is another one of my favorite books from last year. This book is very, very interesting. It's a sapphic romance. There is a little bit of magic in this book where the main character gets on a subway and she sees the most beautiful girl that she's ever seen. And she sees her every day when she does her commute, and she's like, okay, today I'm gonna ask her on a date, but the girl that she meets says, oh, I can't leave the subway. I don't know, I really loved it. I thought the main character was super relatable, in an awkward way, and I really loved it. Takes place in New York, if you love New York, and then there's a bunch of found family, and I love a found family. But yeah, this book was super fun, and I liked that there was a little bit of a fantasy element to it. And the quote that I think will convince you to read this book is, "There was this girl. I met her on a train. The first time I saw her, she was covered in coffee and smelled like pancakes. And she was beautiful like a city you always want to go to. Like how you wait years and years for the right time. And then as soon as you get there, you have to taste everything and touch everything and know every street by name." That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Next book I have on this list, I actually read on my Kindle, and I need to pick up a physical copy ASAP. So that is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is one of my favorite Lauren Asher books to date, and I've read her other Dreamland Billionaire series, but this one was just something about it I just really, really loved. You have a successful billionaire, but also the woman is very successful in her career as well. You have some more emotional things that are dealt with in this book. You have, you know, like their families, which I thought was super fun and super cute. I was kicking and giggling kicking my feet, giggling like at the romance, and it was super bingeable. You got enemies to lovers, but you also have second chance romance. It's like so much in one, and it's amazing. And as far as quotes to convince you to read this book, I have the book dedication, and it is, "To those whose love language is words of affirmation, your praise kink is safe with me, and Julian Lopez." I read that and I screamed. So if you guys relate to me on that front, you will really, really love this book. Okay, the next book is Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is another book that I loved last year. One thing I love that Hannah Grace did in this book was there's no third act breakup. And I think that is one of the most amazing things to ever happen. I hate a third act breakup, and I was so scared that there was gonna be one in this book, but there wasn't. And honestly, Aurora, the main character, like the female main character in this book, I loved her so much and I related to her so much that this book was just like, it hit different. You know, it hit different. Takes place in a summer camp. There's puppies, and it's just super cute, and I really loved it. And the quote to convince you to read is, "I love stories about people I don't know and places I haven't been to. I've lived 1,000 lives between 1,000 pages, but no story, no life, no page has ever made me as happy as you do." Russ Callahan. I just want to feel love like that. Next we have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. If you haven't read this book, what are you doing? It's on Kindle Unlimited. Please read it now. It is a part of a trilogy, and as you get into the other books, you just start to love these characters so much. Like, each one of them, you love them in their own way, and you have a grumpy male character, you have a sunshine female main character, you have a little bit of a, like, crime plot to this book, which creates a mystery, and it's very interesting. It's not the main plot of the book, but it just adds a little bit more to the story, I think. And I just love the trilogy so much. I really want to reread this one because it's been so long and I really loved it. So let me tell you the quote that I hope will convince you all to read this book. "You made broken things whole again. Me, you made me whole." Let's talk about the other Lauren Asher book on my list, and that is Terms and Conditions. And this book is actually the second book in the Dreamland Billionaires trilogy. You don't necessarily have to read them in order, but if you kind of want to know some of the other characters that are mentioned in this book, you can read the first, it's the fine print. That's the first one. But this one is by far my favorite in the trilogy, and if this doesn't convince you that this is an amazing book, I don't know what will. I love this book. It's billionaire, fake dating, marriage of convenience. You got a little bit of an office romance, and the main character I call Daddy Declan. And if you read this, I feel like you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the quote to convince you to read this book is, "There's nothing I want more than to turn a house into a home with you." Again, that's all I want in real life. Where is my Daddy Declan to say that to me? Where is he? I don't know. This book ruined me in the best way possible, okay? This book is so beautiful. It's so emotional. It's insane. It's childhood friends to lovers. It's second chance romance. They're book lovers, so they read together. And you got neighbors. It's my Roman Empire. And I think about this book so much. So much. I'm speechless. This book is so beautiful. So beautiful. And my quote to convince you to read this book is, "I think of her everywhere. She is everywhere in every moment, and also she's in no one moment." This book. I'm telling you, speechless. I love this book so much. The last book I have, I wanted to end it on a happy note because I just talked about love in other words, and that book is an emotional roller coaster. So let's talk about Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is my favorite Emily Henry book and my favorite like Emily Henry man, which is Gus. I picture Gus as Logan Lerman. Okay, and Gus is amazing. I wish Gus existed in real life. I love him so much. And the plot of this book is actually Gus and January, who is the female main character, are writers, and they end up being neighbors for the summer. And they decide to make this kind of bet where they switch what they write for the summer. So January writes what Gus typically writes, which is fiction, kind of more realistic, sad type books. And Gus writes what January normally writes, which is romance, rom-com books. And they kind of go on little adventures to get inspiration for their stories. And I love this. It's just like the whole premise of this book is so fun. And yeah, I had so much fun reading this. I'm going to read it again this year, and I'm so excited because I miss Gus because he is ultimate book boyfriend. So the quote that I think will convince you to read this book is, "When I watch you sleep," he said shakily, "I feel overwhelmed that you exist." Men like Gus just don't exist in real life, and I really wish they did. Alright everyone, those are all the books I think you should be reading this Valentine's Day. If you'll be reading any of these romance books or have any suggestions, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day, whatever you're doing, and I will see you all in my next one.